The Reptile is a British horror film from 1966. It follows a couple, played by Barrett and Jennifer Daniel, who inherit a relative's house in a small village. The relative died under mysterious circumstances, and the longer they stay in the town, the more they suspect there might be a creature secretly terrorizing the residents. With the help of a neighbor, played by Michael Ripper, they investigate. This is a Hammer film, and it was one of my favorites as a kid. I remember looking through my dad's old monster books and being fascinated by photos of the Reptile's creature makeup. Even all these years later, I still think it's pretty cool. A big complaint with this film is that the monster is not in a lot of it, which as a kid bummed me out, but as an adult, I think I appreciate that more. The film plays out more like a gothic Victorian-era murder mystery, similar to Carmilla or the novel Dracula. Our heroes are not only trying to figure out what this creature is, but who else is connected to it. They give us only bits and pieces at a time, savoring the full reveal for the last act. Exploring the lore of the Reptile is one of the most fascinating parts of the movie. It's not like most Hammer films where we have a preconceived notion of what to expect. Learning about it in every scene allows for the story to build a great deal of suspense. There are lots of spectacular scenes that have this eerie quality to them. A personal favorite of mine is the opening scene where Barrett's brother explores a house that we all know he shouldn't be in. Hammer was always known for their pulse-pounding first scenes, and this one has always been one of my favorites. The look of the village is great too. Even during the day, you get a sense of looming dread from the architecture. There are no such things as bright colors here. Every building reflects the grim nature of this era, and people live in fear of the threat at hand. Hammer shot the Reptile in 3 other movies on this set. It was done as a way to save money, but because of that, they were able to take their time putting this together. And honestly, if you check out the other movies, you can hardly tell it's the same area. They do a good job making it look unique to each film. The other movies are Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Rasputin the Mad Monk, and The Plague of the Zombies, the latter reusing many of the same cast and crew from The Reptile. It's not just the exteriors that are impressive, but the interiors too. Hammer films were known for their vibrant sets, and although they weren't as elegant as some other studios, they always stood out visually. Like in this film, they often use bright colors indoors, but their careful lighting choices help craft an uncanny feeling over the course of the whole movie. At the helm of this film was John Gilling, one of Hammer's more underrated directors. He always creates visually interesting blocking and gets great performances out of his cast. Fan favorite in this film is Jacqueline Pearce, the woman who dons the makeup for the Reptile. She wasn't able to see out of the front of the mask, and when you realize that, her quick movements seem all the more impressive. Her body language carries most of this memorable performance. Even at times where she isn't doing anything, she's threatening. The rest of the cast does a good job, but the standout for me is from Michael Ripper. He's basically the Van Helsing of this film, but not in a scholarly sense. Whereas Van Helsing had years of experience studying the occult, Ripper only started looking into this when the problem landed in his backyard. His knowledge of the Reptile comes from sneaking around the village and studying the victims' bodies. Not only does that make him more interesting, but it makes him more relatable too. We could all see ourselves in his shoes, wanting to figure out what the heck is happening. I think this is easily Michael Ripper's best role. He's given so much more to do than usual. Like I said, Ripper's character isn't the scholarly type, but he's remarkably resourceful and very clever. He takes no chances when dealing with the threat of the Reptile and never makes a dumb move. He's a smart character making smart choices in a horror film, something I really wish would happen more often. Born January 27, 1913 in Portsmouth, Hampshire, England, Ripper's father was a speech therapist who would often encourage his son to enter public speech competitions. Participation in these soon led to an interest in acting, and when he was 16 years old, he got a scholarship to drama school. He would start to appear in professional plays soon after. Throughout the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Ripper split his time between stage and screen, often appearing in bit parts for the screen. Ripper had to retire from the stage in 1955 after a thyroid operation left him with a raspy voice. He began to pick up film work more regularly and started a close association with Hammer Studios. Ripper was a staple at Hammer, starring in over 30 films for the company. That's more than any other actor who worked for them. Never as the lead, but almost always in a memorable supporting role. Ripper was always a welcome presence in their movies, and his time there cemented him in the eyes of horror fans across the globe. But even after Hammer closed down in the mid-70s, he continued to act in TV shows and movies until the mid-90s. He passed away on June 28, 2000, at age 87. On the Scars of Dracula commentary, Christopher Lee would call Michael Ripper a face more representing Hammer than myself. So Ripper was very much respected by his peers and has become a bit of a cult figure amongst horror fans. The Reptile is the closest Ripper ever came to having a leading role, and it makes me wish that he was given more opportunities to show off his talent. Like I said, I saw this when I was a kid, so it was one of the first Hammer films I ever saw, and I remember being happy every time I recognized Ripper in subsequent films. So if you want to see a gothic monster movie with a gnarly creature makeup, or discover the talent of one of the great British character actors, then I highly recommend The Reptile.